In the world of NBA basketball, we should all be privileged watching all-time greats perform for an 82-game season. Nowadays, given the massive contracts, low management, and boredom of meaningless regular season matchups, one day, one of these generational players will hang it up, never come back to the hardwood, leaving the game for another journey. For every era, there will be those players who gets overshadowed by the better superstars, their greatness caught in the moment. Many soon realized their skills weren't appreciated enough until there comes that expiration date. Given certain play styles, body frames, and skill sets, a star with a specific type of game tends to age faster than most. While guys like LeBron, still performing at a superstar level at 40 years old, whenever he has a monster game, his fans call him GOAT. Whenever a subpar game, critics say he's washed. But his Lakers, of course, most national TV games, getting all the flowers and treatment. Steph Curry still lethal, hitting all the insane shots only he could do on the nightly basis, stuck on a bad roster, crying for help. Same goes with Kevin Durant, still scoring efficiently on a team with no depth and a washed up Bradley Beal. All three still the most talked about American superstars today, still dominating the headlines more so than Jokic, Giannis, and Lukas of the world. Although today's best players don't get appreciated enough, many acknowledge these four internationals, the best players in the game. We can't say they're underrated, but some of the guys beneath them still getting ignored, don't get enough flowers, no national coverage on leading their teams to playing excellent ball as we approach the midway point of the season. Starting with Trey Young of the Atlanta Hawks, 26 years old, already more career assists than Kyrie, averaging the most dimes since '95 John Stockton. No star has gotten as much disrespect over the last 3 years as Mr. Trey himself after leading his squad to an improbable conference finals run 2021. Expectations were near impossible to follow, given the much better teams in the East. Being in trade rumors last season, many conflicted about who's to blame on the failures between him and DeJounte Murray. Now DeJounte irrelevant on the worst team in his conference, Trey on his way to winning his first assist title, on verge leading his team back to the postseason. It's an absolute travesty. Trey left off the All-Star team in 2021 and 23. Look how much former teammates John Collins and Kevin Huerter got paid after leaving the ATL. What have they done for their current teams? You tell me. In an era of advanced analytics, too many talking heads who understands numbers more than the game itself, quick to dismiss Trey. Some won't even call him a top 40 player. Being undersized and inefficient many nights causes concern whether you want to build a team around him, but his incredible passing and vision makes everybody better. Teammates Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniel, and DeAndre Hunter all looking better than ever. 3 most improved player candidates. Many of the negative conversations about Trey's ability starting to shift to a more positive direction from labeled team killer, coach killer, selfish, and not a team player. Not even a dog for Team USA. Many quick to rank Therese, nowhere to be found this season. Halliburton over Trey. This season, it's not even close who's better. Young already might have the best play of the year on lock, draining one of the longest game-winning shots you will ever see, a 50-foot bomb in Salt Lake City, 7th longest game-winning buzzer beater in NBA history, recording 20 assists that game, his 10th game with 15 plus dimes on the season, clearly being a top 5 passer in the game, already his 3rd 2020 game this season, most since 1990 John Stockton. Many Spurs fans wanted no part of him, being one of the most absurdly offensively talented players that can do anything on any given moment. Many have no idea Trey has the 2nd highest career assist percentage all time behind only Stockton. Despite the genius passing, many rave about Jokic, LeBron, and Lukas passing, and to their credit, fully deserving. But Trey Young on verge on reaching a milestone not seen since Stockton, and yet nobody seems to care or willing to give him credit due to his flaws. Overlooked and underrated, Young also never been given quality teammates to work with. His most talented guys, John Collins and DeJounte Murray, even Hawks fans last season turned on him. Before Murray, Trey never even had a former All-Star teammate in any season. Murray was just a replacement with San Antonio. We all know he's not not truly a real all-star. At the end of the day, if Trey doesn't have another top 25 player teammate, Atlanta's just gonna be a mid-tier playoff team, won't have enough to make a deep run. Young himself might have to demand out of the ATL if the next 2 seasons followed by first round exits. Karl-Anthony Towns, the best 7-foot outside shooter the game has seen, also today's leading rebounder. Many doubted his fit in the Big Apple, questioned his toughness, attitude, and labeled soft for much of his time in Minnesota. The 28-year-old finally figured things out, especially with his maturity and fitting in perfectly, demanding the ball, has the confidence, the reigning Eastern Conference Player of the Month, on his way to becoming an all-star starter. Many would easily take him going forward over injury-prone Joel Embiid. Minnesota trading him away due to the second apron might turn out to be an even worse travesty than the Kevin Garnett trade. Now many question whether Ant Edwards is actually even better than Cat at all. This season, Towns no doubt better. Edwards the younger, more talented guy, but the maturity between the two, not even close. Leon Rose will continue getting more credit, trading away a low-tier all-star and role player for a unique special offensive talent with size, length, and floor spacing, a guy who can drop 30 on any given night when needed. The big bodega exceeding expectations, not only bringing his talents, but the energy, underrated passer. There's a reason why he was a former #1 pick and looking like the best player in his draft class, playing much better than Devin Booker all season. A combination of looking like a top player when needed to also figuring out how to do role player type things, hustle, make the extra pass, and elevating his teammates. Cat takes full advantage being 7 feet with the ability to drive past guys from the 3-point line, can also post up and use that lanky hook shot with either hand, a much more talented version of Brook Lopez. As long as New York has Mitch Robinson back at the 5, team will have all the tools in competing for a title, with Boston their toughest task. His attitude took a massive hit after the whole Jimmy Butler debacle, when it's known Cat is a bit cringy, but easily one of the nicest guys in the entire NBA. And look how Jimmy Butler's imploding now in Miami. While Cat looking to continue balling like an MVP type player, surrounded by the right 3-and-D snipers, Mikal Bridges, OG, and Anunoby both can cut inside for easy layups, giving the Knicks having the perfect complement of players. With Towns' underrated passing, we're looking at potentially the best offensive Knicks team since their title years in the 70s. We'll learn what Cat's truly made of come playoff time. Minnesota wouldn't have went to the conference finals without his excellent Game 7 road win in Denver. Donovan Mitchell, on pace to win 70 games, the red-hot 32-4 Cavs. From being in many trade rumor discussions in a small market, many wanted him to come join a bigger market. When his Cavs got a couple young great stars leading his squad to near 50 wins last season. Just like Trey Young, Mitchell's not having his best scoring season, but doesn't need to. A guy who's made the postseason every year of his career, never viewed good enough to being in MVP conversations, super mature since stepping foot in the league, being the 13th pick, a top 2 player in his draft class, behind just Jason Tatum, much better than De'Aaron Fox and Bam Adebayo, never causes drama, and yet mainstream outlets would still somehow drag his name and force him to try to go to the Lakers. All Donovan Mitchell did was sign a peaceful extension, one of the rare players on his way to leading his team to the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Nobody imagined Utah a #1 just 3 years ago. Many even tried to make him and Rudy Gobert enemies when they never truly hated each other. With Donovan winning night in and night out, playing well-rounded team ball, everybody will be forced to talk about him if they make the conference finals. One of the rare teams with no drama, embracing the challenge, making it clear he wants to follow LeBron's footsteps in bringing another title to Cleveland, when most superstars be too terrified to put on a Cavs uniform. Given he's 28 years old, should be at his basketball peak, his maturity like a 35-year-old vet, allowing Evan Mobley to shine, while a younger version of Kyrie Irving would have bashed his young guys for not knowing what it takes to reach the next step. Mitchell, the opposite approach, sacrifice his game, allow for the most efficient offense to shine. Mobley himself on his way to joining D. Mitch come 2025 All-Star Weekend. Jaren Jackson Jr. of the Memphis Grizzlies. Last season, with Ja out, the 6'10 power forward had all the green lights, confidently becoming the focal point no matter how many losses. The former Defensive Player of the Year and one-time All-Star, super respectable around the league, maintaining north of 22 points, a top 5 offense and top 5 defense per possession, developed extreme confidence on ISO plays, goes through smaller defenders, and finessing bigger guys, taking over fourth quarters with Ja out in ways many didn't believe he had that in his game. That push shot, not elegant but effective, having a reduced emphasis on blocking shots, opened up his offense big time, especially with the improvements, avoiding getting in foul trouble. Despite his low rebounding numbers for his size, Memphis second in rebound percentage, no longer affected by bad or no calls, much more mature, less hot-headed. Given he's been the most impactful player on Memphis, with Moran already missing too many games, not qualifying for All-NBA, Triple J scored 35 plus twice in the last 4 games. After being one of the worst passers, much improved recognizing when getting double, easily kicks it out to the open man. Given his success, Jackson Jr. likely won't be an all-star in the tough Western Conference unless as a replacement. The most consistent Grizzlies last 2 years, there's at least 25 players in today's NBA the national media rather talk about than Triple J. Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons, All-Star certified. Detroit remains 500, 36 games into the season, easily surpassing last season's total wins. Now only 13 more W's needed to surpass the total wins of last 2 seasons combined. From declining Team USA invitations to work on his game all summer, paying off heavily, has the opposite approach and a much more mature leader than Joel Embiid, improving heavily on his shot, able to catch and shoot, has a competent coach in JB Bickerstaff. Many in Cade's position would have demanded a trade by now. All that horrendous losing, a thing in the past. A player who literally experiment the deepest lows of rock bottom NBA. The Pistons franchise now needs to get him more proper pieces. The type of guy continuing to stay humble, figuring out ways to work, remains a true professional, was the only Piston all last season to put up any fight, one of the rare young stars capable of doing it all, knowing how to facilitate, make the right reads. As he gets better, only a matter of time till he gets the whistles. Cade's confidence in finishing at the paint will then go up, finally arrived in the top 25 player discussion. James Harden of the LA Clippers looked absolutely washed just over a year ago with the reckless trade demands. Many thought he'd be finished, but the main reason why the Clippers somehow in playoff contention and not become one of the worst teams with Kawhi just play now in the month of January, the 35-year-old looking to extend his career streak of never missing the playoffs. His prime never fully appreciated, one-of-a-kind offensive player. Every time Harden demanded a trade, whether it's Houston, Brooklyn, or Philly, all those teams collapsed without him. He's always been a better player than Paul George, was a walking 50-win season guy in his prime, having the passing genius and IQ despite the loss of athleticism still makes him all-star caliber. Many love to point out LeBron's insane longevity, but Harden underrated durability, aging well, lots of his star running mates injured too often, overshadowed during his Houston days by super team Golden State and draft mate Steph Curry. When Steph broke Ray Allen's 3-point record, everybody celebrated. When Harden did it, nobody gave a damn. For a player who found his identity starting his career off the bench to being the best scorer in the league for many years, transitioned to more of a pure playmaker in Brooklyn, even with his age and declining athletic gifts, Harden still manages to find a way to do both as a 22-6-8 guy. Unfortunately, looking at the Clippers now, the only positive all-time great conversation Harden will be part of, whether he's the best player to end up ringless with the likes of Karl Malone and Charles Barkley. Of course, many already realize how great Wemby's becoming. Some already have him near top 10 player discussion, so definitely not underrated given the insane hype and living it up.